Antwerp's known as the diamond capital of the world. For centuries, the city's been the heart of the global diamond trade, with 80% of the world's diamonds passing through its vaults every single year. But in 2003, the city was staged for one of the most daring heists in history. The heist was against the Antwerp World Diamond Center, a facility so insanely secure that robbing the place seemed almost completely impossible. But these criminals managed to successfully rob the place and pull off the heist of this century. It was a meticulously planned operation, executed with military precision, and yet, the downfall of the entire operation came from a really unexpected place. This is the story of the Antwerp Diamond Heist, and how a group of Italian thieves almost pulled off the perfect crime, managing to steal over $100 million worth of diamonds, gold, and jewelry, and how a salami sandwich brought the entire operation crashing down. Today's video is sponsored by... This video isn't sponsored. See, this is a really small channel, and to get the ball rolling with small channels like this, it can get quite difficult at times. Now, if you want to support this channel in any meaningful way, you can please check out our Patreon linked in the description. If that's too much, or if you can't do that for any means possible, a simple like and a subscribe is way more than enough to support this channel. Now, let's get back to the video. Meet Leonardo Notarbartolo. Now, Leonardo was born in 1948 in a small village in Sicily. Growing up in post-World War II Italy, life really wasn't easy for young Leo. His family was poor and opportunities were scarce, but even as a child he stood out. He was known to be really clever and resourceful, and he was always looking for ways to get his way, often through less than legal means. As a kid, he started small, with petty acts of pickpocketing and stealing from local shops. His first ever robbery was when he was just 6 years old. He stole 5,000 lira, or about $8 from a sleeping milkman. But for Leonardo, it wasn't about the money. For him, it was about outsmarting the system and getting what he wanted out of life. His early brushes with the law really only fueled his ambition, and he saw crime as a game, one which he was determined to win by any means. By the time he was an adult, he'd graduated from petty crimes like pickpocketing and stealing sandwiches onto some more sophisticated schemes. He moved to Turin, where he became involved in the jewellery trade, and it was here where he really honed in his skills as a con man. He was learning the in and outs of the diamond trade, but just buying and selling gems was not enough for Leo. He always believed that he needed to take what he believed the world owed him, and he had much bigger things in mind. Leonardo had a certain charm and swagger that made him natural in blending with high society, and he had the skills of being able to talk his way into almost any situation, and he used this talent to build up a network of contacts within the diamond world. But beneath all of this was just the same kid, driven by a deep desire to prove himself and to get whatever he wanted. By the time Leonardo was in his 30s, he was a full-blown professional. He'd set up and pulled off dozens of successful robberies, and crucially, he was a tenant in the Diamond Center, as he viewed it as the safest place to store his stolen goods. Now, one day, he was approached by one of his few trusted buyers, a mysterious Jewish diamond dealer who offered him 100,000 euros just to answer the simple question: could the Antwerp Diamond Center be robbed? Now, the vault in the Diamond Center by all means seemed completely impenetrable. It had everything. It had an infrared detector that could detect the slightest change in temperature from a person stepping inside. It had a seismic sensor to detect any drills or explosives that would be used to break in the door. There was a lock on the vault door that had 100 million possible combinations, and a Doppler radar to detect any movements, all just to name a few of the security measures inside the vault. And if all of that wasn't enough, in the building it had its own private security force in the middle of the already extremely heavily guarded diamond district. So when the dealer asked Notarbartolo this question, his answer was a pretty resounding no. But for 100,000 euros, he was happy to prove just how impossible it really was to rob the place. With a pen equipped with a hidden camera, he used his access to the vaults to document every inch of the entire security system. But even with all of this intel, the place didn't seem any less impossible to crack. What Notarbartolo didn't realize though, was just how dead set the dealer was, and the extent to which he'd go to see this mission pulled off. Now, using the intel that Notarbartolo gained with a hidden pen camera, the dealer built an exact replica of the vault in an abandoned warehouse, and he assembled a team of specialists to help pull off what seemed like the impossible heist. There was the genius, who was an alarm expert who could supposedly disable any kind of alarm. There was the monster, a lockpicking expert, and there was Speedy, Notarbartolo's long-time childhood friend. And last but not least, there was the King of Keys, a master at forging keys. And together, this team spent months rehearsing exactly how they would break into the vault using the replica. Even though it seemed completely impossible, the team managed to come up with strategies to defeat every single one of the vault's security measures. And so, on the night before the heist, Notarbartolo entered the vault as he'd done many times before. But this time, he entered with a can of woman's hairspray, and he sprayed the heat motion sensor with a thin coat of oily transparent mist, insulating the sensor from fluctuations in temperature, essentially disabling the system from alarming, since it would need both heat and motion to go off. And so, on the early morning of February 15, 2003, after months and months of rehearsing, the team finally made their move. The gang drove to an abandoned office building that led them to a private garden that was right behind the Diamond Center building, and using a ladder that was previously placed there, the genius scaled the building and he placed a polyester shield in front of one of the heat sensors to block it from detecting heat signatures. And one by one, the team slipped into the vault's antechamber, ready to pull off the heist. Once in, they covered the security cameras with black plastic bags and switched on the lights. And then the genius disabled a magnetic field that would trip if the vault door was open using a custom-made slab of aluminium. And although the vault key was surveyed with a hidden pen camera and it had been successfully copied, given that from the videos the guards would always enter into a separate chamber, the King of Keys acted on a hunch and he checked that room that the guards would always go into, and he found a major lapse in the center security. The original key, which was used to open the vault door successfully. Now finally, the genius inputted the combination lock code that they'd gathered from the pen video. And just like that, the team had done it. They'd successfully broken into one of the most secure facilities in the world, and it was a flawless operation. The men had entered the vault, and given that they'd perfectly memorized the layout of the vault using the replica, the men worked in complete darkness in order not to trip the light detector. One by one, they used a hand crank drill and they drilled out 109 out of the 189 safe deposit boxes before they figured out they had to stop before the streets would come busy again. It took the team almost an hour to haul the bags up the stairs of the building and to get all of the loot out. And once the gang was back in their rendezvous point, a rented apartment, the mood was celebratory. They'd pulled off a seemingly impossible heist, and they cracked over 100 security deposit boxes. They defeated all of the vault security measures, all whilst working in darkness for much of it. But once the team started opening up the deposit boxes to discover the loot, their mood quickly soured. All huddled around together in this apartment, Notarbartolo took out and opened one of the deposit boxes. And to everyone's surprise, the box was completely empty. He then took out another, and another, and most of the boxes seemed to be completely empty. Notarbartolo was completely shocked. In the weeks preceding, he'd monitored the vault, and he was sure of his prediction that they would find around $100 million worth of valuables, until he realized that he may have been part of a much bigger scam, what he believed to be an elaborate insurance scam. With the heist complete, Notarbartolo and his childhood friend Speedy, who Notarbartolo would later go on to describe as being a really nervous man, they were on the highway heading out of Antwerp with one last task: destroy the evidence. But as they pulled off the highway into a secluded forest to do so, Speedy began to unravel. Overcome with paranoia and going into a full-blown panic attack, Speedy began throwing the evidence, and he dumped the evidence everywhere: videotapes, currency, and crucially, a salami sandwich half eaten by Notarbartolo. And despite attempts to clean up the mess, they missed out on the sandwich. Now 2 days later, the trash was found by the side of the highway. Within days, the DNA evidence on the sandwich led investigators back to Notarbartolo, and eventually to the rest of the team. The downfall of Notarbartolo, as well as the rest of the team, was swift. Detectives found diamonds hidden in his apartment, along with prepaid SIM cards linking him to his accomplices. One by one, the team was arrested, with only the King of Keys managing to escape capture. In the end, as the ringleader, Notarbartolo was sentenced to 10 years in prison, with the rest of the accomplices getting 5. But the biggest mystery remained: what about all of the loot? Notarbartolo insists today that most of those boxes were completely empty, and that the loot only added up to about 20 million. But police estimates and reports stated that the total amount stolen from the heist was closer to 100. He claims to this very day that the rest of the gems were part of an elusive insurance scam orchestrated by the diamond dealer. But without any proof, unfortunately, the truth still seems elusive. Today, the Antwerp Diamond Center has toughened its security, but the legend of this heist still lives on. It's a story of ambition, ingenuity, and many, many twists of fate. And at the center of it all, a sandwich that brought down the perfect heist.